Okay, March Madness finally here, the kind of madness that we actually want this year. Last year, very disappointing when the tournament was canceled, obviously the beginning of a much bigger deal in COVID-19 as a pandemic, but incredible to see the innovation and the way that people made this work, made conference tournaments happen so that we get to the big dance. We're gonna have upsets and Cinderella stories and all the fun things. I'm so pumped. But last week I got to be a Pac-12 women's basketball courtside analyst for their tournament in Las Vegas, and it was a really interesting experience. And I want to take you guys through what it might look like in the Indianapolis bubble, in the San Antonio bubble if you're media, because some of the stuff that the conference did to protect these players and give them a chance to actually play in March when it matters for the national championship was beyond impressive. The technology, the effort that went into it, we have to document this because it's such an interesting year. I want to share my experience. None of this happens, the celebrating, the running around, the holding a championship trophy above your head like the Stanford Cardinal did, without this. Connexon trackers, COVID-19 testing every single day. Machines with UV light that disinfect the balls all the time throughout the tournament. Hotel convention space being turned into basketball courts, some of what you saw in the NBA. Socially distanced interviews with coaches and players, which is not ideal when you have the hearing of a senior citizen like I do. For those that know me, I'm usually a sports anchor reporter, but this last year I have been an analyst for Pac-12 Networks for women's basketball games, and they came to me about 2 or 3 weeks before the tournament and said they will have one person really being the sideline reporter, but call it a courtside analyst, because we didn't know how close we'd be able to get to the huddles and how much you can actually be a sideline reporter during a pandemic. I had to send a COVID-19 test in before I even got to travel and fly to Las Vegas. And then once I was there, every single morning there was a testing window. We had to go and get tested, 2 different types of tests to make sure for sure. And they used a really cool kind of like email app that would send you an email when you found out that you were negative. Day 1, the testing window was until 8:30, and I woke up like super casual thinking I was good to go. It was like 8:15, and then I look at my phone and it's 8:20, and I'm like, I have 10 minutes to get across the Mandalay Bay hotel to a different part of the hotel, and I like sprinted over there. Off to a great start, feeling really professional. And it was just instant perspective of what student athletes have been dealing with throughout this whole pandemic. I never missed a testing window. From there, I got my life together and made sure I was early and got it done quickly, but we had different testing windows in a different location than the players and coaches, so we didn't cross paths. I was the only tier 1 member of the broadcast, so instead of having 2 sideline reporters and then your play-by-play and your color analyst on the same floor, they were on a different tier. That was just to limit the amount of people that were on that floor. You saw wide open space when you first walked in where there are normally bleachers. There was so much space for activities. Just kidding, it was mostly just for wide open space because we're in a global pandemic. But fans were only family members, so players each got some family member tickets. They were super spaced out. Conference did a really good job of like zip lining chairs so that you really stuck in your pod, and they were obviously required to wear masks. So after you get the email that you test negative, you're allowed to enter the arena. The next thing you would do is have to go grab your Connexon watch kind of thing, and I say watch, but it does not tell you the time. You put it on, it's assigned to you the same number the whole tournament, and it monitors your distance to other people. So if you're closer than 6 feet, it will be blinking red, and it helps you kind of realize how far away 6 feet really is, how far away you need to stay from people. And then if you're not in that proximity, it's not blinking at all. If you're getting further away and you're outside of that 6 feet distance, it blinks green, but obviously you're in the clear when it stops blinking. The reason for this is if someone were to test positive, which there were no positive tests at the Pac-12 tournament, which is incredible, it would tell you if you spent 15 minutes or more of aggregate time with that blinking red light. So within 6 feet of someone who might have tested positive, we didn't have to find out because nobody tested positive. Also, it was a cute accessory. People thought I had an Apple Watch on TV, and I tricked you all. They also had these machines, which Will Hunter, the director of operations for Pac-12, called the microwave. Not like your typical hot shooting player, but this thing had UV light to disinfect the balls, constantly, like after warm-ups, between games, at night, before the next day. Usually there are conventions going on in hotels all throughout the spring, but since that wasn't happening because of COVID-19, they actually changed those conference centers into practice courts, bringing the Las Vegas Aces court that's usually in the Michelob Ultra Arena where the Pac-12 court was for the tournament, up to these convention center areas, and teams didn't have to leave. They could just practice right there in the hotel. Activities to pass some of the time because you can't leave the bubble. The Pac-12 brought cornhole into the team's meeting room, so each team had their own separate like logoed cornhole, and then ping pong also. So I really want to know who was just like dominating table tennis on each team. So for the rest of the tournament, you're going from your hotel room to the arena, back to your hotel room. You're really not doing anything else in between, especially the players. They definitely had food brought to their meeting rooms, ordered for them, and they only were in those meeting rooms and the arena and like hotel rooms. For Tier 1 staff, there was no snacks allowed in the gym, which was really tough for me, but you had a place outside where you were socially distanced from other people. Long days, a lot of diligence. I was just constantly impressed by the coaches, the staff, everybody making sure that we were following the rules and that we wanted to continue to have a great tournament. So the championship, we had a lot of practice to make sure that this ceremony, the trophy ceremony at the end, went through smoothly. It was very spaced out. We walked through it. I was 6 feet away from the commissioner, Larry Scott, who was 6 away from the trophy case, where teams would go grab, the trophy. You really had to go take it this year, like that cliche. It's not just going to be given to you. It really wasn't given to you this year, so you had to go up and grab it. Tara Vanderveer, players were all very far away once Stanford won it, and so emotional to see them celebrate and do snow angels and the confetti and wave at their parents from far away, because you couldn't be close, you couldn't be on the court. Normally in a year, when I played at the WAC tournament, my parents were on the court with me after the game, congratulating me. Everybody had their family there, but Stanford had to wave from far away, and then they had to leave and walk out of the arena waving goodbye to be safe. And it was sad to see, but it's really the best way, the smartest way to make sure that they get to go to the NCAA tournament now. They get to be in the big dance. Everybody in that tournament, UCLA, Washington State, Arizona, Oregon State, so many good teams get to be in the big dance and have a chance because they're not dealing with the COVID outbreak from their conference tournament. That's what it's all about this year. I could not be more grateful for the opportunity to go through all that, to make connections with amazing coaches, amazing players, and amazing people at the Pac-12 conference and the Pac-12 Network. Incredible job, a lot of hard work by so many people. Everybody stepped up and it was successful. And now we get March Madness, and I could not be more excited about that.